This weekend is the conference championships for the NFL. The National Football Conference Championship will be having the Lions flying over to the Bay over here playing the 49ers. But the one that I feel means more to history, I feel like is more important when you look at the history books, is Mahomes headed over to the East Coast for his second road playoff game against Lamar Jackson on the road. And Rem, I mean, obviously, Chiefs guy, but listening to all the media, all the stuff, it's been a while since Mahomes has been this much of an underdog. I mean, with the Bills, I could kind of talk myself into, their defense is banged up, which it was, and, definitely contributed to their them winning it out. But this team is just, I mean, it's just stacked. And we're the ones going into this game with injuries, with Thuney being out, him being pretty hurt. It looks like he didn't play in the Buffalo game, but it'll be interesting to see if he'll come back here. Mike Edwards also had a concussion. He missed practice this week.
He DNP'd, yeah.
Trey Smith, he's expected to play, but he was sick. So it'll be interesting. I mean, and Baltimore, they've been just fine without Mark Andrews, and he might come back this week. Also, Humphrey was practicing this week. So it's just, it seems like it's slanted in every way against the Chiefs for this game.
Well, I mean, you said it's been a while since that they've been an underdog. And if you look at the lines right now, they are an underdog. Some of the sportsbook I was looking at, it was 4 points. And is this the best team that you guys have ever played in the Mahomes era? Is that appropriate?
That Tampa Bay team was pretty good.
I think, and Brady too.
Yeah, Brady, that defense. I mean, I don't think anyone was stopping him that night.
Well, if you look at over Mahomes' career so again, that this game is a 4-point spread. If you go biggest spread for Mahomes' career, you have to go all the way back to his rookie season. And it's actually his first 2 games. His first game as a starter, well, not his first game as a starter. He starts, week 17 of 2017, his rookie season. But his week 1, 2018, was a 3.5-point underdog to the Chargers. And then week 2, a 4.5-point underdog to the Steelers. And that's actually the biggest spread that Mahomes has been an underdog in his entire career. Later in that season, you guys play New England week 6. He's a 3-point underdog. And then since then, really, there's been a couple of 1-2-point spreads. Philly last year in the Super Bowl, they were -1. There's been a couple of times when you've been barely an underdog. Buffalo this past game as well, too. You guys were 2.5. But 2019 in week 11, again, when you play New England, you were 3-point favorites. And then Baltimore in 2020, that week 3 matchup, 3.5-point favorites. But again, this is actually, so really outside of that rookie season, this is the first time that Mahomes has ever been favored by more than 4 points, more than 3.5 points.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this is a team that we've had some issues in the past, but handled pretty easily, or handled pretty comfortably. But this is definitely Mahomes at his weakest that he has been so far since his rookie season, in terms of the team that he has, the offense that he has around him. And they're, going on the road. It's going to be a loud crowd. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see. I think it is going to come down, it's pretty obvious, but it is going to come down between Lamar and Mahomes in terms of, the main reason why the Texans were able to, go into the half tied against them is they were able to pressure Lamar. They were able to get him off his spot, make him feel uncomfortable, and really give him that pressure. And we'll have to see. I mean, this Chiefs defense has shown that they're able to do that. Spags loves to blitz. He loves to pressure, and he does it in very creative ways. I mean, it's why he's been able to win 2 rings here with the team. But it's going to be – this is definitely where we're going to need it the most, because I already know Mahomes is going to struggle against this defense. I mean, you have Kyle Hamilton playing as well as he was projected. First player since actually Tyrann Mathieu in 2015 to have double-digit tackles for loss and at least 4 interceptions in one season. So he's having a season we haven't seen
Wait,
in
Tyrann
almost a
Mathieu on the
decade.
Chiefs?
I don't think he was at that.
Wait, you said 2015?
Yeah.
Oh, so Arizona, probably, yeah.
Yeah. I was before Mahomes. Yeah, I was. Yeah, so that was prime Matthew. But yeah, I mean, so my Hamilton having a season we haven't seen in almost a decade. Their defense is number 1 in sacks, and it's really I think it is scary to see the injuries that we do have on our line. You know, it's not nothing super serious. They may return, Anthony and Trey Smith, but to have guys who aren't 100% against the big and best pressure, one of the best secondaries and superstars almost at all-star. I mean, really good stars at linebacker. I don't know. I feel, usually it feels like when I pick against my Chiefs, they win. When I do pick them, they lose. I don't know. Rem, which way are you leaning? Hearing all these stuff, like I know you've been on the train of, don't bet against Mahomes, which you make sense. This is their 6th straight AFC title game, but I don't know, Rem. It might be a little. Maybe it's time to throw a little money on the Ravens.
To be honest, I'm not like totally certain who I'm sure yet. There's still a couple of things that I think I want to talk out first before because I'm actually being totally honest. I don't know who's going to win this game. I think this is super close. And you mentioned that Tampa Bay matchup as well too from the Super Bowl. Kansas City was 3-point favorites in that game.
Yeah.
So Brady wasn't even, and that's like we're saying, Mahomes really the only other time he was an underdog was to Tom Brady. So, it's not just the Chiefs. I don't think it's just the Chiefs thing with where the state of that roster is. And they played really well last week. Well, what did you take away from that performance last week then, going into this game? Like,
from which team?
From the Chiefs. Like, do you feel like that performance erased? I don't want to say everything that you did in the regular season, but did you feel like you played like a Super Bowl team last week?
No, I don't. And I think we quite frankly got lucky in that game. When you see that second half and you're telling, I mean, he got, I want to double check here to make sure I got it right, but it was just the number of second chances that offense got in the Buffalo at the end of that game. I definitely think we got lucky there. I mean, I do think the moment got to Allen, we have seen him, kind of crumble here. But yeah, I think, the Chiefs did score on like every single drive besides the fumble and like the end of half and the end of game. So their defense also was just bad. But to go get turnover on downs because of horrible punt, fake punt, and then punt it.
Did you agree with the call?
Have a missed field goal. No, I don't. I mean, this isn't a story, but to end up only scoring 7, a touchdown. And I think with that game last week against the Bills, it was just way too close. It was way too close call. I think we had a little bit of, there's a little bit of LeBron with Toronto where it's like, we know we're going to beat them. We don't really have to push it. We're not really
the Bills
worried
fans
about this team. It's just taking over and Mahomes doing what he normally does and pretty much willing them to win in that game. And like they just consistently scored. You didn't really see a sense of urgency from their side. Like they weren't really worried. It felt like it kind of felt like they knew they were going to win. And maybe that's why Kelce actually had a good game. He was actually catching passes. But against this Ravens team, I think it takes it to another level. I think the energy is going to be through the roof. And the defense is going to be so much better, especially when you look at the stats for this team. The Ravens are the first team to lead the NFL and as a scoring defense, only allowed 16.5 points per game. And sacks, they had 60 and tied for first in takeaways. And, they had an NFL record, 10 games against teams that finished with winning records. it's just it's ridiculous. And it's the first time ever. It's the first time that the Ravens have hosted the AFC game. Now the Colts played the Oakland Raiders back in '71 in Baltimore, but it's just crazy. I mean, this team literally has 16 players without at least one sack. I mean, that's more players than you can put on the field. So while I do think the defense, our Chiefs defense can give Lamar enough troubles to make this game be close. This ridiculous defense by the Ravens, having stars everywhere, and not only having that top end talent like Kyle Hamilton, but having also Roquan Smith, having those players, also Jadeveon Clowney, secretly also on that line, just players all over. I think that's going to give the Chiefs too much troubles, and I could see this very well be a 1-2 interception game from Mahomes.
So you are worried about him. I know you're kind of crediting the Ravens defense. You're building, the Ravens defense is amazing, but I mean, it seems like you're a little worried about Mahomes. And I mean, which quarterback do you think is actually playing better right now? I mean, we're not doing legacy things for both these guys, just for this game. And if you look at their numbers just from the divisional round last week, Mahomes versus Buffalo, 17 of 23, 115 completed air yards. So, him actually throwing the ball, none of the yards after the catch, the total yardage, him just throwing completed air yards, 115, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, he didn't have the total yardage that Mahomes did last week, but 16 of 22, basically the same. 114.
100 on the ground too, right?
Yeah, 114 completed air yards, only one less than Mahomes, 2 touchdowns plus what he added on the ground. So I know, like you're saying, there's the element of the matchups of the defense, but is Lamar playing better than Mahomes right now?
I could see an argument for that. I could see an argument. I mean, I think
is that a diplomatic way to say it?
I think for Mahomes, he's only going to be as good as his receivers allow him to be. And I think Lamar, it's easier for him to put the team more on his back and it be more on him just because of how he can run the ball. You could still see that elite movement last week against the Texans in that second half. You could see him, really tearing up in the middle of that defense. And, while Mahomes can scramble, and that has been some of his biggest plays of his career, it is a little bit different level that Lamar can get to. And again, Kansas City's got to rely on receivers who have been unreliable all year long. I mean, I love the game that Kelce had last week, but, that is something that we haven't seen very consistently throughout the year. Rashee Rice is literally playing out of his mind. I mean, I think he only needs 63 yards to – let me see if I can find that stat here.
Is he going after a record?
Yeah, he only needs 66 yards to pass Torrey Holt for the third most yards by a rookie in a single postseason. So he's playing great by historical standards, which is something I hope can continue. It's something, I don't know if he can though. We've seen him a lot of drops. MVS has had many drops, many crucial drops in his career. So, unlike the Ravens who, had Zay Flowers has been consistent, you might have Mark Andrews return, which would be enormous for this team. I mean, if Mark Andrews plays in this game, the Ravens are going to win this game guaranteed. Like, I'm not even going to have hope. I'm not like Mark Andrews is that good. He's been like that good over the last couple of years that if he comes back in the game on top of already having Likely, who has been a more than competent replacement for him. You have Odell, you got Zay Flowers, and then you're supposed to deal with that rushing attack as well with those running backs. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So it would be actually crazy if Mahomes could pull this off, because I think for once in a long time, and I think this might be like one of the maybe one other time. I can't really think of it, but I think this might be the first time like every single odd is kind of like all the odds are against him, and it's like it's not even close. Like there's not something we could say is the advantage for him, even at the tight end spot.
So, I mean, Andrews hasn't played since the middle of November. Is he definitely better than likely?
I don't know. I mean, that's even a question. I don't, we'll see how healthy he
You
is,
want to see
but
him out
just
there?
having him out there. If I'm the Ravens, I'd love to have him out there. I mean,
Yeah,
as Chiefs
probably.
fans, no, I don't want to see it. But having him just as an option, and something besides, something else for the defense to worry about when they're, and the Chiefs now will have to, and I think they will anyway, try to pressure with only four and not really bring the blitzes. But to guarantee that by having someone as dangerous as Andrews there, is something that is irreplaceable. So I just, if Mark Andrews plays in this game, and he's, especially if he's 100%, I don't see a way the Chiefs can really win this game.
You mentioned the pressuring with four. If so, the thing with Lamar, like you were saying with the scrambling, and Mahomes is scrambling, like you said, it's been phenomenal. Lamar is just the fact that he's now figured out the pocket passer thing to the level that he has. Like, well, I guess here, let me pivot quick to Lamar because do people realize that Lamar is actually like the second best quarterback in the league? Like, is that something that people are like, do people know that? Like, I feel like, I feel like there's still kind of like, is this like a hot stretch or, like they have the best team this year, everything's in the right place. But Lamar as an athlete, like everybody knows Lamar is as an athlete, one of the most dynamic, if not the most dynamic athlete in the league. And again, he has figured out the pocket passer thing. Like that's a real development for him. Like I think he's fully there. Like it's Mahomes clearly won. I guess like Burrow too. Obviously, I keep forgetting about Burrow because he didn't play the back half of the regular season. But either way, I think the fact that he's made this playoff run now, even he's in the conference finals. That's what Burrow has done. And if he loses to Mahomes, I guess Burrow did beat Mahomes too. So
yeah, he went to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, I don't know if we need to get into that, but it does feel like he is actually this player, and I feel like there's still like an underlying thing of the team's amazing and the writing's on the wall versus Lamar is like fully now on the list of, because like we're saying with the athleticism and the numbers, he is right there with Mahomes. If he beats Mahomes, like do we now have to talk about Lamar as the best quarterback in the league?
I think we need to see it for more than 1 year. I think you need a couple. Mahomes has a couple of rings under his belt. I think Joe Burrow, you still can't forget about him. I mean, I think just because of his injuries, if you're starting a new team, I don't know if he'd be the second quarterback off the board, but in terms of talent, I think he is number two. But I definitely have Lamar firmly above Josh Allen, and I think there is a little bit of how close it was, and I think definitely after this season, I put him above, and it's just like you mentioned. I mean, it's just not only now is it not just the athleticism, but also his pocket passing. But it is interesting to see that this year he has had an emphasis on pocket passing, but he is still open to running if needed. He's only played in 5 postseason games, but has passed 100 yards in 3 of them, a record for a QB. So, he is playing at an MVP level, and every time he, if needed, he'll still put on the wheels, he'll still put on the brakes. But it is nice to see that he is passing 2 very good options on this team. I honestly think this team is probably one of the most superstar-laden teams that we've had in a long time. Because even if you look at those 49ers teams, they don't really have a superstar at quarterback. And that's something that this team has on top of, a great running back, great wide receivers, a great tight end, really good, O-line, and great on the other side as well on all levels of defense, breaking records. And I think, the Ravens, I think this is their chance to really wake up America because they've been kind of going under the radar. I think people who've been watching the league, people who watch sports, obviously been giving the Ravens respect. But in terms of household names, the Ravens definitely have not been in the forefront as the Taylor Swift-led Chiefs. And I think they're going to come in and crash the fairy tale at home. I really do think that this is the end of the road for the Chiefs. And considering the season that the Chiefs had, I kind of consider it a win. I mean, we made it to that goalpost. I think under
I
Mahomes,
was
the
going to ask you
goalpost.
this.
Yeah, I mean, under
Do you
Mahomes, the
guys need this
goalpost.
game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think our goalpost has been the conference championship. You know, getting there has been the thing, and we've done it every year under Mahomes, which, you know, is a ridiculous feat to even do, especially in the NFL, to end up at the end of the day being one of the four best teams in the league,
Yeah.
one of the top two in your conference, and to
Every
fight
year?
through every year you have him as quarterback and to deal with what he had to deal this season. I think, you know, it's one of the things. It's Chiefs. We tend to be up and down. We win, and then we have a year where we kind of relax, and then we have some mistakes, and then the next year we draft well, we figure it out, we cover our weaknesses, we wrestle back, and then it's back and forth, back and forth. And so right now, I mean, I expect it to be down here. I mean, there just has to be, we can't make the Super Bowl every year. There just has to be years where we don't make it. And I think, you know, I did obviously pick against us in the first Super Bowl, you know, still regret it to this day. But I think this team has a talent on a different level than pretty much any team that Mahomes has played, including that Buccaneers team, because I think, you know, Brady couldn't really run around. You know, Brady at that point, he was older. If they had a better pass rush, who knows what happens, better O-line.
And the Chiefs'
But
offensive line was not the offensive line that it is
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. But this Ravens team, I think this is like the first time that I'm like, I seriously think that Mahomes cannot overcome this. And if he does, I don't, you know, I don't know what to do with him.
No, I think the legacy stuff, like you're saying, already for Mahomes is kind of already like this playoff run in this season. Like the first 5 years was nice to have, like, oh, like 5 years, that's like a fun little window. But now it's like, okay, obviously this is going to continue. And what is that? What is like what was last season really, especially post Tyreek Hill? What does that sustainability look like season over season? And to be back in, I think we're still holding off on some of the legacy stuff though, because again, like if they win this game, I do think that is like, I mean, just being in the Super Bowl, it's like, okay, what is really going to happen at this point with Mahomes?
Yeah.
But like for Lamar, can you win this game and Lamar play awesome? Like, does Lamar have to play bad for you to lose this game? Like, do you have to stop Lamar? I know. I guess that's the Ravens' offense, but like, if it's like a defensive, muddied type game, low scoring,
I think in previous years, even as close as last year, I would have said no. But with the way this team has played, I think we do need to get an interception or two. I do think if we're going to beat this team, we're going to definitely have to make Lamar uncomfortable, because if he starts running around and doing his thing, and they can just, I mean, we can see how fast he is, how agile he is, and how quickly he can get 10 yards. Any of his running back get 10 yards. You get the whole headache of what's going on, you know, run pass options if they want to get tricky with them. And I think and just the unreliability of this offense this year under Mahomes, it's been unreliable. It just has. And I know I just mentioned, you know, last week with them scoring on every single drive, but a lot of those were field goals, and it was against a defense that was really, you know, the cupboard was pretty bare.
And you mentioned it earlier too, but that fourth quarter drive when the Bills defense got a stop, that was important.
Yeah. No, it was. And it's just the offense has been up and down throughout the year, no matter who we've played. And it's never felt quite right. Even last week, I mean, Hardman, you know, we finally have like a great play, and then he fumbles it out the back of the end zone. Like, there's always something going on. And you're struggling against teams that, you know, don't have their top guys. And then you go against a team that's historically good, and they don't have any great injuries on this team, like, or not great, but, you know, significant injuries on this team. It's just really hard. Even as a Chiefs fan, you know, as a Chiefs fan, I'm going to cheer for my team. I'm going to watch the whole game. I'll be cheering for them, you know, and I'll be really happy if and hopefully when they win. But as a logical football fan, looking at the stats, looking at this team, you know, I think this is the best team that Mahomes has played. And especially on the road, I really, it's unless the defense creates some turnovers, you know, the offense is able to, you know, really run the ball and, you know, really control time of possession. I think the Ravens are probably going to get this win, and there is hope at the light at the end of the tunnel for the Chiefs. Last week we did run the ball a lot. Mahomes only had like 9 completions by the end of the first half, but it's just there is a shot, but it's a very narrow one, and it's we keep asking for Mahomes to pull some magic, and at some point, he's only human, but we'll see. Maybe he's not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're in the Super Bowl.
And of all,
Taylor Swift,
is there finally like a magic that happens? But
Roger Goodell just floats in and is like, nope, I'm just deciding this game.
Yeah, it has to be Mahomes. Well, if Roger Goodell has his choice, the problem for the Chiefs is that graphic is very purple. I mean, it's definitely purple. I think I tried to look at it and say, hey, is this blue? Could this be Houston? Could this be Dallas? I mean, we'll talk about the Detroit game in a second, but if it's if they're scripting it out, it's very purple. And did you send me was that like a weather report from a while back where they were forecasting the Super Bowl for Ravens Niners?
I think so. I've seen that everywhere too. Like someone was talking about on the game on the like ad at a casino.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what the weather report was, but it was like, oh, it's going to be 50 degrees and partly cloudy during a Ravens Niners Super Bowl. Like I specifically said that. So you definitely have that going up against you. But is Spags weirdly, is his skill set as a defensive coordinator, is he one of the guys that could stop Lamar with the way he dials up pressure? Like, where do you rank him in terms of important people in this game? Is he number 2 behind Mahomes?
I think he might be almost number 1. I mean, I think in terms of being able to scheme up a defense to limit Lamar, and both halves, not just the first half, but the second half too, because I think we can definitely come out and make him comfortable, get him. But once they get into the locker room, look at adjustments. I mean, Lamar right now quite literally has everything open to him, which Mahomes does as well. But the main reason why which we mentioned many times, leaning towards Lamar is just because of the number of stars he has around him, of great players that he has around him. I mean, great. And it's just, and when we look at our side, you got Pacheco, who I think is a little banged up, like we already mentioned with the receivers and tight ends. It's pretty shaky. And having the crowd behind you, I don't know. But I do, all that to say, I do actually think Spags is the number one person that I most will be looking for in this game, because I think Mahomes is going to do what he's going to do. I think they'll obviously score at some point, but it's not going to be. He's going to get the ball to the people. It's just whether the people are going to actually catch it, whether they're going to decide if they're going to have a good game, or we have another first half where Kelce like drops 3 of his 6 passes, like something like that. So there is consistency with Mahomes, but in terms of the importance of whether the game will be held in the balance will be definitely on Spagnola in terms of being able to scheme up something to pressure Lamar and to not have him go crazy at some point in the first or second half.
I mean, we could keep nerding about Spags' scheme. So you said you were saying rush 4. I mean, do we want to spy? Like, do you need a power rank who you want to spy Lamar real quick? Is that Bolton?
Probably Nick Bolton. Yeah. Maybe Willie Gay if he has to. But that's
could you get tricky and use McDuffie?
Nah, I don't know if they'd get a spy. He's definitely a good man coverage. You could have him just shut down, or either have Snead shut down. Zay Flowers. Yeah, I don't know. There's a reason Spags gets paid all the big bucks.
Well,
I don't know. I know we've definitely been high in getting sacks off of cornerbacks. I think it's like second.
Well, I know we were just complimenting Lamar, but is Kyle, who's better at football, Kyle Hamilton or Lamar? Who's more scary in this game?
It's close. It's close.
Every time you said the Ravens defense, you've also said Kyle Hamilton, and I kind of agree with you.
He's so good, man. He's so good. I love watching him play.
Yeah.
He's been so good this season. It's
Is
crazy.
he best safety in the league already?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
I think so. He's definitely past Buda Baker. I think he was like number one. People
Minka
agree on.
Fitzpatrick?
Which is crazy turn. Yeah, Minka had a decent year. Yeah, but he's definitely number one. And obviously Lamar because he touches the ball on every single offensive play, but
But the problem with your Chiefs offense
details.
in this game is a lot of what the Chiefs offense has been yards after the catch. Rashee Rice is
Mm-hmm.
actually, so if you go percentage of yards that are yards after the catch, Rashee Rice actually leads the league. He's at almost 70%, 69.9% of his yards are yards after the catch, which, is they're not throwing the ball down the field. The next closest guy is 10% less. It's Demario Douglas at 59, Hunter Renfrow at 59.6, Douglas at 59.8, Renfrow at 59.6, Deebo Samuel at 59 flat. If you want to get technical, actually, McCole Hardman leads the league with 87% of his yards, but he only had 24 touches on the season. So if you go like guys that actually got the ball, Rashee Rice, and like we're saying, the swarmability of the Ravens defense, I think is going to potentially be able to limit that. But I mean, it's Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton just going side to side, pausing the defense, and Roquan Smith.
I mean, it's crazy, and they're going to be playing against a banged up wide receiver room. Rashee Rice dealing with his hamstring, Tony dealing with his hip, and MVS dealing with an oblique. I mean, all these guys got something that they're nursing, and they're supposed to go up against this defense. It's tough. I mean, we got Willie Gay. I don't even know if he's playing. He's questionable. It's just the
Is
Chiefs
Mike
are
Edwards going
definitely
to
banged
play?
up. I don't know, man.
I know you said if Mark Andrews plays, you're gonna lose, but if Mike Edwards doesn't play, I feel like you might also lose. He's weirdly important to your defense.
Yeah, he's limited. Let's see, we got some updates.
He DMP'd earlier in the week, so that's a good sign. If he was limited.
I mean, they're gonna do whatever they can to be in this game. Yeah, we have 17 players who we had on our injury report Wednesday and Thursday. Now over half of them were full participants in practice, but so yeah, Pacheco comes back on Friday. He says he's going to be absolutely going to play on Sunday, even though he's questionable. So he's banged up. Let's see. So Thuney will not be in this game. He was ruled out.
Thuney is out. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. So Nick Allegretti will be there instead. But Mike Edwards did go to full participation. He'll be questionable. But it looks like he should be able to clear it, as well as Willie Gay. He'll also be questionable. And let me see here. Yeah, Nadi's not there. Sky Moore is out. They're probably going to be out. Kadarius Tony. He practiced limited second in a day. So it's just okay, it looks like Nadi was put out but it's just like 17 players are banged up. Like, and we could go look at the Ravens injuries. Actually, let me check how the Ravens are doing.
So what you're saying is the only ring that Travis Kelce getting this year is a wedding ring?
Maybe.
He's not getting a Super Bowl ring?
Do you think the league will do any funny business in this game?
Ooh. Will the league keep the Chiefs in the game? Well, again, does the league want the Chiefs to win the game? I guess that's the question. Who does the league want to win this game? Does the league actually want the Ravens to win this game?
They want Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna tell you that right. That's what they want.
I don't know. I feel like, are you guys kind of the villains in this game?
Oh, we're definitely the villains.
I feel like people are kind of pulling for the Ravens.
No, people want the Ravens to win. But the thing is that Taylor Swift is a thing. And she's a big Chiefs fan. So, I mean, having her in there. So on the Ravens side, so Marlon Humphrey, like we mentioned, will be back. Mark Andrews was a full participant in practice. So We'll see. And Tyron Williams. So Humphrey was limited participant. So the only player who's just not playing is actually your boy Rocky Sin. So, but
My boy.
I think, yeah, I know you're a big fan of him, but yeah, having like one player, one decent player who's not going to play compared to the Chiefs, who we have, Thuney out, Pacheco, didn't play, didn't participate. It's still questionable whether he'll be playing. Like a lot of injuries. I don't know. It's not looking good. It's not looking good right now.
I believe Rocky Sin was that the Trevon Diggs draft? Did they take Joe Jawan Williams went over? Or Rocky Sin. I remember being upset over one of the corners that they didn't take Mullen. Was it Mullen? Maybe it was the Quincy Williams pick I'm thinking of. Yeah, maybe actually Rocky Sin was a good pick. Who knows? Oh, this was the Jamal Dean draft. I like Jamal Dean. Played well in the played well. So so you're picking the Ravens?
Yeah, no, I'm picking the Ravens.
We're both picking the Ravens?
Huh? You think you're leaning the Ravens?
Well, if you're this worried, I think I have to pick the Ravens. Because like you're saying, the defense, the thing I was curious about is how confident are you in the offense against the defense? I think, and again, the other way around too, I think, like we said, Spags is going to be incredibly important in this game. But if you are worried about, Mahomes in a way, then that's kind of all I need to know. I'll pick the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, people mentioning Alec Reggie, he's 13 career start. He's had playoff experience, two-time Super Bowl champion. Guess what? All players who've been on the Chiefs this past some time are Super Bowl champions. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. But flipping to the other side, the Lions versus 49ers. And by the way, if the Chiefs do get to the Super Bowl, I will be much less worried because both of these teams have shown
So is the Super Bowl winner? Is this the Super Bowl?
Marks. I think it is. In my opinion, it is the Super Bowl for me because when you look over the NFC, Purdy really struggled against the Packers to the point where it's a serious possibility whether he's winning just because of some rain. And the Lions, it's Jared Goff. And while he has improved since the last time he was in the Super Bowl, this team doesn't have as established stars. Shout out to Jamar Gibbs, who has continued to produce. This team has, another one of your boys, Aiden Hutchinson.
My boy.
Who is played well, but they did almost lose to the Rams in the wild card. It was they almost lost in the first round.
Are the Rams good though?
Yeah, I do think the Rams are good, but I don't think they're great. And Mayfield did throw 2 picks in that game against them when they played them, and it was just it's 2 interceptions. The Lions continued. They were at home. The crowd was rocking. But yeah, them coming over to the Bay, if it's dry, which I think it should be, and McCaffrey's 100%, I think they should be able to. The 49ers should be able to handle business.
So I know you mentioned the Bay. What is Goff's record in weather? I know that stat was floating around this past week. And Goff versus Shanahan as well too. Do you know what the line is for this game?
Yeah.
Do you know what the spread is?
Here, let me guess. Guess the lines. Shut up.
Yeah, I want you to guess because it's when I looked at it initially. So when I was preparing, just going through the game, rewatching the games from this past week, obviously I was going to go look at it and be like, okay, this is initially what I had thought. I guess I don't want to lead the witness too much. Guess what the line is for this game?
49ers +4.
It's Niners +7. It might even be 7.5.
Oh wow. Jeez.
It's a touchdown favorite. So again, is there an eye test thing that we're missing here with the Niners? Are we just forgetting that outside of that Ravens game, especially with Deebo, they looked pretty good? Like, did the eye test say that the Niners and Purdy were a touchdown better than the Lions last week?
I don't. No, I don't think so. But I mean, the 49ers have won 11 of their past 12 meetings against the Lions, including the debut in 2021. And they've had history against this team. And the Lions, they're in uncharted territory. They haven't won this many playoff games since 1957. And the first time they've won their division in 30 years. So it'll be interesting. I very much think this Lions team, can they take it up a notch in terms of taking it to another, being elite? And they've been up and down. They've had some weird losses and some great wins. And I think the 49ers, with what they have on their team, they're just a little bit better. I think they have a lot more developed players, while the Lions feel younger. Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown is, at the top of his powers, but I think some of their pieces on their team are a little bit younger. Also, Aiden Hutchinson, not quite as developed as the 49ers. So if the 49ers stay healthy, I don't know. I think they beat them, even though, is Deebo Samuel returning for this game? That's big.
He's been practicing, and there was a video as well, too, that was going around of him at practice.
He's set to play, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was going to say, watching him in practice, he looked like he was running around pretty good. And I know the report was the injury wasn't as serious as they had thought initially anyways. So I think a lot of the stuff with Deebo is directly tied to Purdy, and having Deebo out there obviously is going to be beneficial for Purdy, but Goff is the one, like we're saying, with the play. Like, Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Does that matter at all in this? Like, what is the degree of separation between these guys? Does that Super Bowl experience get Goff in that, does that matter?
I mean, when you see that Super Bowl, it kind of, so it was kind of the defense that was the main part of why they were there. I mean, prime Aaron Donald is crazy. It's just crazy good. And that team was really good. And I think Goff, he did his job in that offense. I mean, they had the Super Bowl, and then the year before they had MVP Todd Gurley. And I think this defense it's going to have some more. The 49ers defense is going to have some tricky stuff. They will be able to pressure the quarterback with their four, and I think that secondary is a lot better than what the Buccaneers had. The Bucs still a solid defensive team. They still have some pieces here and there, but not. I don't think it's as nearly elite as the 49ers. And the 49ers had chances. They just, gave it up. Like in the first quarter of the game, they almost had an interception.
Yeah. And if you look at the Niners defense in that game as well, too, against the Packers, they actually did play pretty well. And again, I know the score was close. I know there was the first drive, the Packers were able to get down in field goal range. There was a missed field goal as well, too, from the Packers. Was that at the end of the game? So, they did drive down at the end of the game and have a position. But I mean, the first touchdown that they scored in that game, that drive had the 41-yard pass interference and it was on a 3rd and 15 too, as well too. So the Niners could have gotten off the field on that play. And then the very next play was the touchdown play. The defender falls down and the receiver just run by him. So, and then the second touchdown was the 65-yard kick return after the Niners go down. I forget if they scored a touchdown or field goal on that drive, but they get the kick return that sets them up again in pretty good scoring range. So for the most part, the Packers weren't doing too much. The thing is, again, Love missed a bunch of throws in that game. Yeah. There was opportunities as well too. So we'll see if will they be able to pressure Goff in this one? Because the secret thing about the Niners is they don't blitz.
Mm-hmm. They definitely will be able to pressure. I mean, we know Goff is a statue in the quarterback, in the pocket. That's why the Rams traded from him, and I think he's definitely going to get pressured. Now the question is if there's going to be enough playmakers downfield that he can get the ball out of there quick enough. Shout out to Sam Laporta. He is Let me see here. I have the stat. He's 2 catches and 32 yards, receiving yards away from being one of the only 2 rookies with Jamar Chase link history to have 100 plus catches with at least 1,000 receiving yards and 10 receptions, including the playoffs. So, but this team has had a lot of scoring from the rookies, and it's rookies are relying on. Their 25 touchdowns from rookies in the regular season and the playoffs are the most for a team since the merger. So their rookies are playing really really well. And Jamar Gibbs, or not Jamar, yeah, Jamar Gibbs, yeah, and Sam Laporta. But at the same time, they are rookies, and it is a bright lights, and maybe they stand up to it, but it is, at least for me, especially at home, I do tend to rely on the team that has the more elite guys, more experience. You know, this is the 49ers fourth in 5 years, I want to say, fourth championship game in 5 years. Let me see here. They Yeah, so it is
Outside of the
it
year where
is
Garoppolo
their
got
third
hurt.
straight year. Yeah, third straight conference year, and then 4 in 5 years. So yeah, like you mentioned. So this team is used to this, and this is the Lions, first time even doing anything in the playoffs, let alone getting there. And I think the more veteran team will win out. But I mean, this it's not like the Lions are just going to hand it. It's definitely not an easy way.
No, and the thing about the
Definitely the
Lions, you
49ers.
you mentioned that, they could potentially push the ball down the field vertically, but they really have moved. Like the offense has been kind of methodical and they have been able to get some big plays, but it's been a lot of, like you're saying, Jahmyr Gibbs getting a big run, Amon-Ra yards after the catch. So in a way, they don't necessarily need big plays to be effective, which could be an interesting thing against this Niners defense. The other thing that happened in that Bucks matchup was Rashad White for the Bucks. He only had 4 receptions in this game, but 4 receptions, 36 yards. That's 9 yards of reception. So I know McCaffrey obviously is a threat on the ground, but it feels like in the passing game, and again, I know Deebo looked pretty healthy, but it feels like McCaffrey could be pretty important in the passing game in this one. And that in general is just obviously going to be the big weakness for the defense. The thing about the Lions defense is I do actually like the Lions defense is good. And I know,
Yeah.
especially on the Tuesday pod, we've been debating it a lot over the course of the season. The numbers have put them in the bottom tier of the league. I know they have Hutchinson and some big playmakers, but again, not to call a guy out, but if you look at some of the numbers, like the secondary is definitely going to be an issue. And really
Yeah.
outside of Sutton, I do think that the numbers for this defense have been pretty solid. So I think it's going to, like we're saying, is that 7 definitely feels too big, right?
Yeah, I know that's probably too big. But I think it will be, at the very least, it will be one score game. But I do think the 49ers will win. Just because, you look at the Lions offense, and you kind of know what's coming. I mean, it is a little bit, I think they are who do rely a little bit too much on crossing routes. I do think, there's not as many runs as you'd like. I don't know. It's just it's a team that it's they don't go off script very often, which the 49ers don't as well too much. But I think the point I'm trying to make is the 49ers, I believe, have more playmakers, and they do have more players that I think can take it to another level. While I do think the Lions they have great players, but it's definitely, I mean, with which hats off to Dan Campbell, it's definitely a lot more schemed up. It's a lot more of falling in place because that's what the plays told me to do.
And I know we said the line was 7. I think there's some books as well too that have it at 7.5. So I know, like, with especially the explosion of all the sports gambling, there's been a lot of the sites that have been popping up in a lot of different books. So if you are trying to shop around and find the best line, I do think a good thing to use would probably
Nope.
be another thing that if you guys want to go into the episode description, BetStamp. It's another partner, and this is another app that I've stumbled across. It's again using in getting more into the sports betting. The BetStamp app is an absolute must-have, and it's it's not another betting app. What it's going to do is it's going to find the best odds across all the books. So again, some of the books are going to have the Lions at 7. Some of them are going to have 7.5. If you just select the sports books that you have, the different accounts that you have, it's going to display all of the different odds across the thing. And then you can find the best one. And you can go, oh, this odds has the best one for the Lions, the spread. But this one, oh, this different sports book over here has better odds for the Niners on the money line. And you can shop around. You can find the best money. You can track. You can do. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do. Maybe we'll explain it in another ad read. But if you guys want to start shopping around for the best lines, I do think the BETSTAMP app is a good app to use. Again, the link is in the description. There's a referral code in there as well, too. If you guys download that and want to let them know that we sent you. I'm telling you, I use this and it's amazing. It's good to use. And it's not just the spread. It's the alternate spread, which I think I'm going to do. I know we've talked about it. And I do think I agree with Sam. The Niners are going to win. But I think the Lions can keep this close. And I think a touchdown is a little disrespectful. And I think even a field goal, I know I was looking at 3.5. I might go like 4 or 5.5 just because the odds are good enough. But I definitely think I'm going to go, like we were saying, alternate spread. And I think the Lions can at least keep it close.
Yeah, no, they'll definitely keep it close. And but I mean, you look at the Buccaneers game, and they were comfortably in there. I mean, that's nothing to use as evidence because the Packers were ahead of the 49ers for most of the game. But I do think last week was a little bit of a wake-up call for the 49ers. And this is a more veteran team from San Francisco. I think they're they are there is a team that, I think been through a little bit more battles. And they've lost a lot in the conference championship. They've had a lot of scars in this game. They're trying to stop. They've lost the last 2 years, and they're trying to avoid to become the 5th team ever to lose in 3 straight seasons in the conference championship. I know Rodgers knows a little bit about that, but they do. I mean, it's their 19th appearance there all time, but so there is history. It's not like this is something that they're used to. But I just gotta, for the 49ers, they've been in this position the last couple of years, and they kind of got to bank it in this time. They kind of got to. I mean, if Shanahan, they've put all their chips in the middle of the corner hat. This is it. Last year you could say, they're down to their 3rd string. They're down to the coordinator going in for quarterback. But this year Purdy's there, and it's enough with the excuses. That's pretty much all I got to tell the 49ers. I think this year they push through to the Super Bowl.
The only other thing I think the Niners have to worry about is does Trent Williams have to shadow Aiden Hutchinson in this one? Because he's always going off the right side of the line. Just move Trent Williams around. Block Hutch everywhere.
Something.
Are you allowed to send him in motion? If Hutch switches sides, after they line up, are they allowed to swap tackles real quick? Send tackles in motion?
Interesting. Never thought about it like that.
Oh, I guess one more here. I just thought of this one. Is this a make or break game for Purdy?
For sure. Yeah, I think it is for sure.
Like his job?
Wait,
do I have to hold up the bracelet? Questions. Here, wait. Is this a make or break game for Brock Purdy?
Pura Vida bracelet? Yeah, I think so. I mean, he'll get more chances after this year, but I think, if you have as many weapons as he has, and we'll see. I mean, Deebo Samuel should be back. I don't know. I don't know if you can go back into the offseason with Purdy losing 3 straight conference wins in a row, and being like, this is our team, and not at least thinking about other options. So.
But you're saying they're wins. So you're saying that Purdy is still the Niners starter next year?
Yeah, if they win, yeah. I mean, I think even if they lose, he will be. But, if you're Lynch, you're looking around a little bit.
They don't need to trade for Trey Lance again? Bring him back?
Oh, my gosh.
Hold the bracelet back up? Pure Vida?
No. Shout out. But no. No, they do not need trade for Trey Lance.
So we're both going with the graphic. Ravens Niners. It's going to happen. The battle of the 1 seeds.
It's going to happen. Gonna have it.